Hello guys, in this video I will be reading to you my story of what I think happened during the Scorching. Keep in mind this took me over a year, I'm a slow writer, that's why. So I really want to hear your feedback on it. Let's go. 5,000 years before the events of the main Wings of Fire series, humans ruled Pyria. Dragons were still on the continent though. The day was sunny and not a single cloud in the sky, and it was a perfect outside day. Cottonmouth thought it was a good outside day, but his friends disagreed, saying it was too windy and said no to going out. But when he said they would hunt for a dragon, they were ecstatic. One of his friends pointed out that they hadn't seen one in over a year, but that did not stop Cottonmouth's ambition. They had no success, and one of his friends, Fox, said, "See, told you there wouldn't be any." Next week, he went out by himself and found nothing but a dead bird. 3 months later, Cottonmouth saw his first dragon on a hunting expedition. It was a sky dragon with crimson scales and scarlet wings. He was mesmerized by it, so he wanted to find some more dragons without any luck. 2 years later, he found a dragon lair in a cave in the mountains and went to report it to the emperor. He told the hunting patrols to look out for the dragons and be careful. Cottonmouth continued his hunt for dragons a few months later and found another dragon lair. He decided to poke around and found a nest made out of moss and bird feathers. The nest had three eggs in it. He left when he heard wing beats coming his way. With the threat of the Diamond Empire attacking, the Emperor wanted his own dragon to defend themselves in case of an attack. So he sent some of his men to hunt for a dragon egg, and they obeyed his order and went to look for an egg. They brought back an egg, and it looked so big it could hatch any day now. They tried to tame it, but it was pointless, as they said one of the science experiments the scientists were working on fire. But that did not stop them. It was not until it set 3 people on fire that they let it go. But they were okay, though, with only minor burns. Cottonmouth is very excited about his first official experiment on dragons, but left disappointed because he was told that the dragon egg did not hatch when it was supposed to. The next time he did one of the experiments, it was a success. So far, though, it was proven impossible to tame a dragon, but the Emperor would not give up easily, though. When the Diamond Empire attacked, they did not have a dragon, but still won easily. "That will teach them not to invade our territory," said the Emperor. The hunt for a dragon continued, despite several unsuccessful attempts at taming a dragon. They kept trying when they made a mistake, and for some reason took more eggs, so the dragons noticed and went to burn their village to get revenge. That is the beginning of the Scorching. The dragons came and set the city on fire, killing thousands in the process. But it was fixable. The Emperor decided to take another egg, and Cottonmouth was on the gathering trip. The day they set out for the trip was cold, windy, and ultimately a really miserable day. The group left a little after sunrise, but now leave the city perimeter for another hour because everyone wished them luck in their journey. As the morning went on, it got nicer out, but still windy. They decided to get back by tomorrow morning and hopefully be able to make this dragon do whatever they wanted. However, time is limited as the dragons keep burning more cities, which means this will probably be their last dragon before they resettle. They hiked through the mountains and were lucky enough to find a valley where they might be able to camp for the night once the night falls. They find a large cave that might be home to a dragon, so they explore the cave but find nothing. They searched a few other caves and found a dragon egg. They took it and left hurriedly and went back to camp to sleep. They arrived at the city's gates and found it in complete chaos. One person yelled, "We're all gonna die!" Another person says, "The dragons are gonna kill us all!" At that point, they realized what was happening. The dragons were attacking their city. They ran past a group of people at the entrance and headed straight to the Emperor to see what to do next. When they arrived at his estate, he said to get as many people in boats as possible and sail away to find another place to live. They got on the boats ready and loaded people fit enough on the first wave of boats and the elderly in the second wave. Cottonmouth thought that was pretty messed up, but even though he was a lead scientist and the Emperor's top advisor, he could not tell the Emperor what to do. But after they could... let me rephrase that. I can't speak now. But after everyone they could fit was on the boats, they went to find a new home. Now, we're going to move on to a dragon point of view. That first part is just the introduction, so you guys have context on what happened. Sky, a red dragon with yellow wings and gray underbelly, was angry. The little monkeys who were now called scavengers kept stealing dragon eggs, so Sky got all her kind together to scorch the ground and get rid of scavengers once and for all. "Okay, we've got enough taken away from us by these scavengers. We have to fight back. So we will all attack these cities of theirs one by one," Sky said. All around her there were dragons of copper, red, yellow, orange, and some brown scales among the crowd gathered around her. So next week we will gather again. All of you here will come with me to avenge the deaths of our dragonettes. Cheers and roars echoed across the clearing after Sky's speech. Sky felt this is the happiest Sky felt since her egg was stolen by those moon-blasted scavengers. She could have just caught them and eaten them, just a simple act of vengeance, but Sky wanted more. She wanted to wipe the vile species off the planet. The next week, all the dragons from last week were here in the clearing, plus plenty of more dragons. They're all riled up, ready to get rid of these filthy scavengers. Okay, boys and girls, we are all here because we had something stolen by the scavengers. We will not stop till every single one's wiped off the continent, Sky said, blood pumping through her veins. We will leave in the late afternoon. We will rain fire from the skies. Hunting parties went out to make sure everyone was well fed, and all was well until noon, when someone got sick because the hawk someone caught was infected with something. It was a dragon named Falcon. He had the most comforting eyes Sky had ever seen. He was maroon with his scales were maroon with deep, and I can't speak again. And his wings were orange, and he had orange eyes and a gold bracelet on his left foreleg. He had to stay behind and rest, but he wished everyone luck. Everyone, we'll be leaving once we. Oh my God, why can I not speak? Everyone, we will be leaving once we are done eating. So finish eating so we can go. Sky said. Everyone was done eating, so she told everyone it was time to leave. They were flying towards the first settlement they saw and started to get into formation. Boys and girls, we have waited weeks for this moment here, Sky started. It is time we get proper vengeance. Sky Wings, attack! Sky started calling the Sky Wings. They all flew over the city, setting fire to everything they saw. The scavengers stared helplessly at them with terror in their dragon-esque eyes. Everything was chaos. Buildings burning, scavengers burning, also the crops. It was so satisfying watching their city get destroyed. Also, dragons were swooping down from the sky and killing scavengers with their claws, too. The smell of smoke was overpowering, and there was also a smell of meat wafting through the air as the dragons cooked the scavengers they killed. It was a successful day as the entire city was destroyed by nightfall. Sky thought that this was the best day of her life, but she still wanted her egg back when a dragon came back with an egg and said, Sky, I found this egg. I think it might be yours. Oh my goodness, thank you. What's your name? Sky said. My name is Gazelle. Thank you, Gazelle, Sky said. You're welcome. Sky was so overjoyed to have her egg back. The happiness was overwhelming. Oh, sorry, I lost my spot. Sky had an idea so this wouldn't happen to any dragons again, creating tribes of different species of dragons so they would be unified against an attack of this sort. Her group would be called the Skywings. That was how the first dragon tribe was created. She grouped all the dragons together and announced the idea, and they were ecstatic about it. She was also the first dragon queen. The next morning, she took the strongest dragons with her to go negotiate with the other types of dragons, starting with the swamp dragons. She arrived at the edge of the swamp, and there were so many things flying around her, and her scales felt sticky. Sleeping was difficult that night, but as the hours went on, her eyes got heavier and heavier until she was dragged into a deep, dreamless sleep. A dragon named Ivory woke her up, and it was already late morning, so they decided to hunt some of the birds that resided there and continued their journey. From the sky, the ground looked brown and yucky with occasional grove of pine trees, but those were the only trees. There were dragons all around the swamps, with the tip of their snouts poking all the mud. She thought that was weird. Why would they do that? She found out later that they do it for hunting, and the mud rests and heals them. She went up to the dragons, but they did not understand what she was trying to do until she found one named Mud. She was totally enthralled by the idea of ruling a tribe, so they got lots of dragons to join the tribe, and she eventually felt like she had enough dragons, which is how the Mudwing tribe is created. However, the dragons who did not join would not receive protection from the tribe, so a lot more dragons joined after that. Sky, Ivory, and Falcon moved on. She must admit she was constantly swooning over him, and she thought he was doing the same. Their next stop was a rainforest. They thought dragons lived there, but were not sure. The humidity was worse here than in the swamps. There were also disgusting bugs everywhere. Everyone's caked in mud within the next 2 hours due to a steady rain. They jumped in the stream to clean off despite not liking water. They continued their trek through the treacherous rainforest. No one wanted to be here, but they wanted to find some dragons. It was getting dark down the rainforest floor, even though it was a little afternoon, because the trees were not letting a lot of light through due to how tall they were, but it got brighter soon. I think we should leave if we don't find anything within the next day. I can't stand this any longer than that, said Falcon. They decided to hunt these weird, colorful birds that apparently are really fast, so they decided to eat some sloths instead. By the end of their meal, they had enough fur between their teeth to line their nests with. Out of nowhere, a dragon tackled Ivory and exclaimed, "What are you doing here, and why do you look so weird?" I could say the same about you," said Ivory. That they stared at each other. They then stared at each other for a moment, and then the strange dragon said, "Hi, I'm Banana. What's your name?" "I'm Ivory, and this is our leader." She points to Sky, and this is our fighter. She points to Falcon. It is another moment before anyone says something. It is a procedure to take you to the village, I'm afraid. And God, I lost my spot again. One sec, sorry. My fault. "It is procedure to take you to the village, I'm afraid," said Banana. They walked for a little while before Sky said, "Do you have any sort of leader?" No, we don't, said Banana. They got to the village, and she was surprised to see how many beautiful dragons there were. There were dragons that were pink, blue, red, yellow, orange, and sometimes all of those and more at once. They were the most beautiful dragons she'd ever seen. The rainforest wasn't far behind in beauty. There were flowers of every color you could imagine. The trees reached far into the sky, and there were colorful birds everywhere. Sky looked. "Wow, this place is beautiful," said Falcon. "Yeah, we take pride in our village," Banana started, "but we still lose around 12 dragons a year, though." "How?" "Mostly panthers and other rainforest animals, but we've tried to make it safer, though." "I can fix that," said Sky. "How?" asked Banana. "By unifying you all into a tribe with a queen. You could choose any female dragon with leadership skills. On top of that, make sure you have an army capable of defending your territory." Banana replied, "Okay, we will call ourselves the Rainwings because we live in the rainforest." The crew stayed for the rest of the day and feasted. The queen was a dragon named Toucan. She had beautiful flowers wrapped around her horns. Her scales are red, yellow, and pink when not showing any emotions, and she's bigger than most Rainwings her age. 2 days later, they set off for the desert in hopes of finding dragons there. It is really hot in the desert, so they hoped to find some dragons soon before she went crazy. "We better find someone here soon. I can't handle much more of this heat," said Ivory. "The heat is unbearable. The heat felt like it was melting their scales." Sky was worried about the lack of prey. There isn't a lot of food or really anything in the desert. Despite the heat, Sky knew dragons lived here since she had seen dragons flying around in the desert from the mountains. Sand was apparently very hot under the sun, Sky realized when she landed on the sand to drink at an oasis. Sky saw dragons flying high in the sky, and Sky told falcons to fly and catch up to them so they could speak. "Ivory, I think I'm starting to like Falcon," said Sky. "What do you mean?" asked Ivory. "Like, you are amazing and I can't stop thinking about you way," replied Sky. "Ah, I understand. Are you going to tell him?" Ivory said. "No, I think he already knows he's awesome," said Sky matter-of-factly. Before Sky could answer, Falcon came back with the dragons. They were a mix of pale yellow like the sand. Some were also yellowish white, and they all had a barb on the tip of their tail. They also had heat radiating from the scales, making Sky feel like she was standing next to a fire. They were also pretty small compared to the mudwings she encountered in the swamps and marshes. "What did you bring us down here for?" asked one of the dragons. "We are making a proposition," Sky started. "We are trying to make tribes of different species of dragons so they are unified against any kind of attack. It will select a queen and their family becomes a royal family. Only sisters, daughters, and nieces of the queen can be queen. You will also need an army to protect yourself if you are to survive." "That does sound nice," said another dragon. The others started murmuring in agreement. "Okay, we're in. My name is Sand," said the main dragon. "I know. My parents were feeling creative when they named me," she said with a chuckle. "They totally were feeling creative," Sky said sarcastically. Anyway, let's get down to business, Sky started. You will have to rule all the dragons that join the tribe and have an army capable of defending the tribe. Are you up for that challenge? Yes, I am, said Sand. She was surprised that they agreed so easily. Since they're thirsty, they all drank from the oasis, and Sand said that she was going to announce what she was going to do, try to gather as many dragons as possible. It was a great showing that she accumulated. Probably around 150 dragons showed up. Okay, guys, girls, and dragonettes, Sky began. Tonight, I will give you all a proposition. We'll start by introducing ourselves. Each dragon on the stage, which was just a sand dune, introduced themselves, and Sand continued. I am creating a tribe, and we will be called the Sandwings. The Sandwings will protect and support each other, and dragons fit enough for battle will be part of the army, which we'll use to defend ourselves during times of war. At the end of the speech, all the dragons were excited, and Queen Sand was the first queen of the Sandwings. They had a night of celebration, fun, and happiness. People were roasting camels, and there were lots of drinks. It's crazy how much you could drink in the desert, Sky thought. It turns out they go to other parts of the continent for most of the stuff. They partied through the night, and before they knew it, the sun was rising over the mountains to the east. They stopped partying at about noon, and everyone slept for a few hours. Everyone woke up at about Everyone woke up at about sunset, and the heat was unbearable. The sun's ferocious heat was blasting down the dragon scales. The three Skywings knew it was time they left. Sand, we are leaving now, Sky started. Thanks for everything. Pass the message along to any dragon you see. It's about time we try the tundras of the Ice Kingdom. Okay, Sky, I wish you and your group well, said Sand. They took off north toward the tundras of the Ice Kingdom and decided that they'll go back home if nobody's found. As the sun went down, it got cooler and cooler until they couldn't feel the heat anymore, and finally felt bearable. They decided to take a little break, and since the sun's starting to set, also set up camp there. It got really cold that night, but the sky dragons have a moderate level of cold resistance. They caught themselves a lizard and a few foxes for dinner, and they were discussing what to do next. What will we do if there's no dragons up north? Falcon asked. We'll go back to the others and try the sea a few weeks later, said Sky. They finished eating and started to get ready to sleep. The three dragons looked at each other silently for a few moments, and Sky broke the silence by telling them it was time to go to sleep. The next morning came, and Sky wanted to leave for the Ice Kingdom before sun high, when it was the hottest. The sun was blocked right now because of a cloud, but the only cloud in sight. It was already pretty hot on the desert floor, despite it being mid-morning. The entire morning, Sky was preparing her speech to any dragon she saw. She wants to get back to her Skywings as soon as possible. They've been gone for about 2 weeks now. The longer they waited, the hotter it will get, so the group collectively decided it was time to take off for the Ice Kingdom. It was even hotter up in the sky with the sun shining down their scales, and it was only going to get hotter from here. For now, though, they were flying as fast as they could. After a few miles of flying, everyone's wings were starting to ache, so they started to slow down a bit. They took a break on a sand dune a few minutes later. Despite being built for flying long distances, they got tired really quickly. Sky guessed it was because of the desert heat, but wasn't sure. Sky and her friends rested while their wings were resting and took off into the sky once more after a few minutes of rest. The group had got to the point where they were flying over a barren rocky wasteland, and the sands of the desert were now behind them at about sunset. They were now officially in the tundras. Sky and her friends were almost out of the Kingdom of Sand. The reason Sky was excited to be almost out of the Kingdom of Sand was because that means her journey was almost over and she could return to her tribe. It was pretty cold up in the sky, but the Skywings have adaptations to resist cold. The farther they went into the tundra, the colder it got until they could see snow for miles up ahead. They saw a hawk flying in the sky, and Ivory shot after it. After Ivory caught the hawk, they swooped down to the ground to eat it, and Sky winced as she stubbed a claw on a rock when she landed. She ate the hawk in 3 bites, her bit of the hawk in 3 bites, and was ready to rush to her sore wings. But she had a mission. Sky was determined to complete it. After they all finished eating, they made the decision to keep flying until it was completely dark out. They took off soon after. Sky was flying, and she was thinking about her egg and how it's coming along, and if Gazelle was taking care of it as she promised she would, when Sky felt something hit her chest. It was a rock. She stopped flying and looked down. Scavenger! There's one. No, actually two scavengers, smugly looking up at her, and she wasn't going to let that slide. She told her friends to hold on while she dealt with something, and nose dived into the ground, picking up on the scavengers and threw it. It didn't get up again. Sky went after the other one, who was understandably fleeing in terror. She caught up with it and picked it up and lit it on fire. She took his charred body to her friends for a snack and continued flying. They found a cliff and decided to camp there since it would block the wind. It's so cold, Sky thought her claws might fall off. She had to be a strong leader for not only friends, but for her tribe as well. She was trying to stay awake because she was standing guard while her friends got some rest. So Sky was relieved when Falcon woke up and said he would take her spot. She lay down and drifted off to sleep. Sky woke up the next morning to a frostbite dragon standing over her. Sky jumped up and growled at the dragon and said, "How long have you been watching me and my friends?" "Since the sun started rising," said the white dragon. "So not that long then," said Sky. "No, I guess not. I should have mentioned this earlier. My name is Penguin, by the way. My name is Sky." Penguin was a sleek, compact dragon with frostbite scales, icicle-looking spines going down her neck and back with serrated claws and a whip-thin tail. Sky also realized that she radiated cold from her scales, and touching her felt like touching ice. "Wow, your scales are really cold," Sky exclaimed. Penguin did not respond, but instead started to talk about how she had a really bad day yesterday because she missed both a seal and a snow fox. No, I'm fine taking the biz. Wait, no. Shoot. While out hunting, it was really interesting how she was all worked up about all the happening. Sky almost forgot why she came to this barren wasteland, and she didn't worry about that. While Penguin was talking about the weather and other boring things, Sky decided to explore and move around to keep warm. While she was exploring, she saw something in the distance. It was big and white, and it looked like a bear. It pivoted its head and made eye contact with her and charged at her. She got in her fighting stance and bared her teeth. She lunged at it and raked her claws along its side. It roared in agony. It got up and scratched her snout, blood welling up around her eyes. She lunged at it again, but it jumped out of the way. Out of nowhere, Penguin comes and by and lunges at it, and it's dead in seconds. "Wow, how did you do that?" Sky asked, mesmerized. "I was taught by my parents how to defend myself against a polar bear attack from a young age," said Penguin. "Anyway, let's get you back to the group before you get hurt. Is your snout okay?" "Yeah, it's fine." They were walking back to the group, and Falcon ran towards them. "Sky, where were you? I thought something happened to you." "Something actually did happen. I fought a polar bear." "Oh, what?" Falcon asked, confused. A polar bear is a white bear that lives in Arctic regions and is one of the most dangerous animals to a young dragonette. Being able to take them and kill them easily without adult supervision. Easily and kill them easily without adult supervision, Penguin explained. Penguin continued explaining what polar bears were, their strengths and weaknesses. It was very intriguing to learn about. I really didn't think so, because as Penguin droned on, she looked at the sky and rolled her eyes. By the time she finished her explanation, the sun was already past the highest point in the sky. Before Penguin started speaking again, Sky interrupted her. "The real reason me and my friends came here is because we have an offer for you. There are these things called scavengers, and they harm dragons. Let me repeat that. I cannot speak again. There are these things called scavengers, and they harm dragons' well-being, and me, Ivory, and Falcon have gone to each type of dragon we can find, and tell them about how we can create tribes to protect ourselves against the fleshy threat. There's a queen, which we hope could be you, with an army at your call tips. You can order dragons around as much as you want to. You will go around and try to persuade dragons to join you, okay?" "That's a lot to take in, but I think I can handle it," Penguin said confidently. "Do you want to be queen? I can ask another dragon if you're uncomfortable with taking on the position." "No, I'm fine with taking the position, but what will I do about my husband and dragonettes? Can I take them with me?" Penguin asked. "Yeah, sure, taking them with you. They'll become your royal family." "That does sound nice," said Penguin. Penguin, I trust you to be a good queen and lead your tribe to prosperity, Sky started. What will you name your tribe? I will call them the Ice Wings, Penguin said with pride in her eyes. We need to get going now. I need to get back to my dragon, said Sky. Goodbye, Sky. Hope we meet again, said Penguin, with tears welling up in her eyes. They shared farewells, and then they went their separate ways. Penguin flew north. Sky and her group flew south. Higher up, Sky's wings felt like they might actually freeze and she would plummet to her death. She decided to fly harder, and when they saw the rolling dunes of the desert in the distance as the sun, and they saw the rolling dunes of the desert in the distance as the sun was going down. They landed and they slept for the night. When they woke up, the sun was high in the sky. After trying to hunt, Sky and her friends decided to leave. They found nothing while hunting. Sky hoped her dragon stayed, but the chances are they probably left. Flying in the desert, it's actually really tough when you haven't eaten for a long time. Ivory spotted an oasis, so they went down to get a quick drink and take a break. They still had at least another day flying before reaching the mountains. They flew across the desert for hours, and Sky realized it was getting really windy, and a cloud of sand as high as they were in the sky was following them. A sandstorm was formed behind them. Sky spotted a camel in the distance and decided to fly towards it. Her friends flying behind her. As she got closer, she saw a small thing with fur only on its head and stood on two legs. She realized it was a scavenger and told Falcon to deal with the camel while she dealt with the scavenger. There we eat well today, a camel with a side of roasted scavenger. They finished eating and left the camel carcass behind. The sun was starting to set, so they decided to burn the carcass and set up camp here. We need to get back soon, because I don't want my dragons to worry, said Sky. That's pretty reasonable, said Falcon. Sky was getting really tired, so she told her friends she was tired and went to sleep. She woke up and it was still dark out, and it wouldn't be dawn for a long time yet. She hunted and caught a rabbit and ate it before going back to sleep. Sky woke up again, and there was a milky haze in the sky, signaling the sun was starting to rise. She walked in a circle for a little while and sat down until her friends woke up. Sky was getting anxious because she'd been away from her dragons for almost a month at this point. After the sun was up for what seemed like forever, her friends finally woke up. They talked for a little while and decided to start flying before the sun was at its highest point. I cannot believe that actually worked, Sky said with excitement. They've united all the dragon species and will finally be safe from scavengers. When Sky gets back, she will send a few dragons to scour the continent for any other types of dragons and get them to unite into a tribe. Sky could start to see the mountains in the distance, which gave her a burst of energy and excitement. That means they'll be out of the desert soon. Eventually, they got tired and landed to take a quick break. They took off after a few moments of rest and were a few hours from the mountains. The sun was starting to set when they flew over the first of the pine forests. She veered east to the valley where her dragons were settled. She was so close to being home when she couldn't contain her excitement. As she started doing loops and flips, nearly bowling Falcon out of the sky. She could see a fire flickering in the distance and thought that those were her dragons and let out a squeal of excitement. Could you stop acting like a newly hatched dragonette? Falcon asked impatiently, and she started chuckling afterwards. That is no way to speak to your queen, Sky teased, shoving Falcon. Sky descended, graciously landing in the grassy clearing. A dragon noticed her and exclaimed, "Sky's back!" Cheers exploded around the clearing. She told the story of what happened to dozens of dragons, and they told her that they burned down more scavenger settlements while she was gone. Sky was finally home, and she couldn't be more happy. Gazelle also said she'd been taking care of her egg, and that it's coming along well. So that was some good news. It was well past midnight when Sky fell asleep, and it was the best she'd slept in weeks. When she woke up, the sun was already pretty high in the sky, and she told two dragons named Everest and Crag to go search the ocean and the other parts of the continent for other dragons, and to tell them what she was trying to do. They took off in the early afternoon. 2 weeks later, construction for a palace had begun, and Everest and Crag came back saying they found two other types of dragons, and they named themselves Nightwings and Seawings. The Nightwing Queen was a dragon named Intelligence, and the Sea Wing Queen was a dragon named Leviathan. Sky had accomplished her goal of uniting all the dragon species together, and with the scavenger threat gone, everyone is safe. All our dragons were happy and content, and there haven't been any problems. Everything will be fine, and dragons will rule the world for the rest of time. That was it, guys. And I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you made it to the end of the video, I must say thank you for watching all the way. And please leave a like and on the video and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the year. So I will see you guys in the next video.